Oh, all right, guys. How have you guys been? This is podcast number 2. How's your week going? So far, it's 13th of May. Uh, Not a lot going on with me. The only thing going on was I went out of town to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I was at a museum, and the guy was asking me where I was from, and I told him, well, I'm from Washington, but I grew up in California. And he was like, so one of those California people, huh? And in my mind, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, this guy doesn't even know me, and he's sitting here saying crap like that. And I was gonna kind of lay into him. I was like, California has a lot of shitty things with it, or she things. And I told him, I was like, well, I'm not one of those Californians. I'm a conservative and blah blah blah. And I'm telling him all this, and it kind of called him down. But at the same time, I'm like, so this guy automatically thinks that I'm some hardcore liberal from California just because I'm from California. And it kind of pissed me off. It's like saying all people from Alabama are hillbillies who are inbred. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Well, other than that, that's all I was doing. I was at this pretty cool little museum they had there, and it was okay. Just trying to learn some stuff about the history of that city, and the wife and I were just kind of killing time and just getting out of town for a little bit. But that's all that's been going on. So far, I don't think anyone is in the chat room here on YouTube. Let me double check here. No, not much going on. Some of you guys know I've been doing cowboy action shooting. I just started. I've only gone to a couple matches. There's a problem with the Uberti 1873 rifle because I haven't done the full review on it. It's because the front sight is canted off to the right by about 15-20 degrees. And I don't know how we didn't notice this when we were out shooting it for the first time. I should have saw it when I bought it brand new, but when I purchased it new, I went to the store right when they were closing. I mean, that's the only time I could get down there to pick it up. And my advice to you guys, when you pick up a brand new gun, go over it like you're buying a used gun. I mean, really go over that thing and make sure everything's right with it before you buy it. I usually do that, but since it was the end of the day, I was trying to like hurry up, get out of there so they can get out of there, and I didn't notice it till the second time I went out and shot it. I'm like, this front sight's crooked. I had a problem with a similar thing. I bought a Smith & Wesson M&P AR-15 a long time ago, and there was a part on it that was bent, and I noticed it at the store. I was like, hey, I'm not buying this. So like, why? I'm like, well, this is bent. And he's like, oh, okay, so they got me another one. But usually I go over them like they were a used gun, and I tell people that all the time, and I didn't follow my own advice. But the biggest problem with it is that not only is the front sight bent, but when I ordered the part, they sent me the wrong front sight. So I had to call them back and say, hey, you guys sent me the wrong part. And then a couple days ago, I got a scope in the mail. Yeah, no joke. It was a 16-power scope with scope mounts. And I'm like, what the hell is this crap? So that was on Monday. So I called them and I was like, hey, can I speak to a manager? This is ridiculous. This is the second time or second package I got from you guys and third time I've had the call. And what we found out was the package I received wasn't even for me, even though it had my name and address on it. It was for somebody else. So I got someone else's order. So someone else out there is probably pretty pissed off. They didn't get their $120 scope. So I told the guy on the phone, I was like, well, I'll mail this back to you, but you guys send me a prepaid box and I'll mail it back. And they told me that they didn't have any boxes available. So they told me to keep it. So I ended up selling it for $60. So I made some money, and hopefully I'll get the new sight in tomorrow or Friday. And if it comes in early enough, I want to take it to my gunsmith, have him put the new front sight on, and he's also going to put the new springs on my Ruger Vaqueros. And I have a match on Sunday. And this is with a different group. There's 3 groups in my area. One of them shoots on Saturdays, the second and fourth Saturday of the month. The other group shoots on the first and third Sundays of the month. And then the third group, I think they do the first and third Saturdays of the month. So every weekend there's something going on, but I got to work Saturdays, so for me to take a Saturday off to shoot with the group I've been going to, like the video you saw me doing cowboy action shooting, I actually have to take a Saturday off to go shoot with them, and that takes money out of my pocket. So I don't know if I'll go out there very much. I'll check out this group on Sunday, and if they're really cool, that'll probably become the new club I'm with, because they're only a half hour away versus the other guys are 45 minutes away, and then the third group is about almost an hour away. But if you haven't, go to sassnet.com and check to see if there's a local group in your area. Because if there was not a group in my area, I wouldn't do this. I'm not going to drive 2-3 hours to go shoot a cowboy action shooting. That's just too far. I mean, I'm willing to drive an hour, and that's it. Anything further, I'm not going to do. But I have 3 groups within or less than an hour's drive away. And there's also another group about an hour, a little over an hour and a half away. There's another group. And I think south of me, there's another group about an hour and 45 minutes away. So if they have their annual shoots, which is usually like a 2-day match, I can definitely go to them. So it gives me a lot of options to go to different ranges and different clubs and check them out. But that Uberti, man, that their customer service was awesome, though. I mean, they were cool. They just, I don't understand how they messed up the order, and they sent me the wrong front sight the first time, even though I gave them the make, model, and serial number. So hopefully we'll get that new front sight in and I can finish the review. And I did videotape what the front sight looks like, because I wanted to attach it at the end of the review to show you guys how it was. So, you know, if you guys ever buy one, you guys can check out that front sight for yourself. But I think I mentioned something about paintball or something like that. I just got done selling my paintball gear. I sold most of it on eBay as well as Craigslist. I started playing paintball back in high school, and then went to the military and kind of grew out of it until about 3 years ago. I started playing again. I had some friends of mine that were into it, and so I got kind of sucked back in. And playing amongst your friends is a lot of fun, but man, when you start playing against rec players and things like that, it kind of, I don't know. There's so many war stories I could tell you guys, but I'll try to just stick to the ones that kind of stick out on why I even stopped, because of like these idiots who play paintball. One was there's a field in a big cities area. I'm not going to mention the field's name, but we went there on a Saturday, and this is in the summertime, so school was out, no school, no nothing. And these guys always boast about how they got a lot of players on the field on the weekends and stuff. So I show up Saturday at about 10:30. About 10:30. It wasn't that hot out, about 80, 85. You know, it wasn't really too hot. And my buddy and I get there, and this is about an hour and a half drive to this paintball field. And they're always talking about having 20 to 30 players show up on the weekend. Well, I get there, and we go to pay. And I was asking before I even paid, I was like, well, how many people are out there playing? There's only 2 people out there playing against each other, and they're using rental guns. And my buddy and I we have our, you know, electronic guns that are just, you know, they'll smoke the rental guns, and it's just not fair. And so we didn't want to play, because it would just been no contest playing with those guys. I mean, it's like taking us a bolt action gun and going up against AKs. I mean, that's kind of how it would have been at 20 yards. And it would have been no fun for us. We would just shot them up, and they would just probably got frustrated and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, I don't want to play with just 2 other people. I mean, you got to at least have 10 players that have a really good paintball match. 10's like the minimum I do. I mean, if there's less than 10 people, I kind of get frustrated. I'm like, that's just not enough. I mean, 8's cutting it. You know, I'll play with 8 if that's all available. But 10's kind of where I draw the line. But also, there's another field. This one's about where I was living at the time. It was about 2 hours away. But he said he gets good crowds out there, and so I went out there. I got there. I pulled out my electronic gun, and the owner came up to me, and he said, hey, do you mind not using an electronic gun? No one here has one. He's like, it would just be kind of an unfair advantage. I told him, I was like, well, I want to use it. I was like, can I just use a gravity fed hopper and do it that way? He's like, oh, I prefer if you didn't. And I kind of argued with him. I'm like, dude, if I'm using gravity fed hopper, I can only shoot as fast as gravity will allow me, which is how fast I can shoot with a regular rental gun or something. But I didn't have a rental gun. I had a another mechanical gun. It was a backup at the time, and it was like a Spider clone, if you guys are familiar with the paintball guns. And so I used that, and I was out there playing with that. And I put my electronic hopper on there. He said I couldn't, he said he didn't say anything about that. So I was able to shoot pretty fast with a mechanical gun. And I was out there playing, and it was a lot of fun. You know, I was tearing it up, having a good time, and trying to teach some of the other guys what to do, like how to maneuver and how to cover and how to like shoot lanes, like lane shooting. If you guys are in the paintball, you know what I'm talking about, where you kind of have a lane and you just shoot down that lane and you completely stop anyone from going in and out of there. You know, it's like spraying a hose down there. And that's one thing that rec players don't get. They don't understand what laning is. They think it's just wasting paint, but you're not. But so we're playing, and I'm trying to help these rec guys out, you know, because they know I've been playing for a while, and I don't even remember getting shot really at all that day. I think I got hit like once or twice. And about 2 hours later, these three guys show up, and they're all fully decked out like they're getting ready to go play a tournament. I mean, they're just fully decked out with everything, like if you ever watch paintball on TV. And they're using guns that are like $500, and mine costs like $250 brand new. These guys are running $500 guns and like $100 hoppers and this crap. And the owner didn't say shit to them, and it kind of pissed me off. So these three guys walk on and start playing. They just start using the rec players as target practice. I mean, it was complete and utter bullshit. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I get told I can't use it, but these three guys who are obviously probably members of the paintball field or something, they walk on and just start shooting all these rec players, which are like, you know, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. And they're lighting them up bad. Like, I feel sorry for these guys. So what do? I go and get my electronic gun, I set that up, and I bring it on the field. I was waiting for the owner to say something, but he never says anything to me because I went the fuck off and go home. I was like, this is bullshit. It was like, you let these guys on, but you say something to me. But so we're playing, and you know, I got a couple of these guys out, and they're gunning for me, which is funny because it takes the attention to me and not the rec players. So we're playing, and this one guy, him and I were kind of duking it out, and one of the rec players shot him, and he didn't know him in the area, and so he looked like he was going to cheat and kind of wipe it away and keep going. But at this time, I kind of maneuvered real quick to his left, or I went left and got flanked him to where if he were to cheat, I was going to shoot like 6 paintballs at him and just light him up. But he was sitting there too busy trying to cheat that another rec player shot him in the mask. And so he gets all pissed off because he was trying to say, I was already hit. And I'm like, you didn't call yourself out. And I said that real quick, and he ignored what I said. And he just started shooting at these little kids like Rambo, dude, just starting to light them up for no reason. And so I turn around, light him up. I run up to him and start calling him every name in the book and all kinds of names and everything. And then he's all like wanting to fight me. I was like, whatever, man, let's go in the parking lot. I don't give a shit. And so he goes in the parking lot, and he just takes off. He just gets in his car, keeps yelling at me. I'm just looking at him. I'm not even saying nothing anymore. I'm just like, I'm right here, dude. And no more talk for me. I'm like, you want to do this or no? And he left. And the field owner comes running out to me and asks me what happened. He's like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, and I told him what happened, and some of the other guys told him what happened too. And I told the field owner, I'm like, man, if you let people on here like that, I'm not coming back. And I never been back since that. And I told him, I was like, that's ridiculous if you let these guys come out here and just light up the rec players for target practice. And some of the rec players, they said they won't ever come back again. And that's where your money's at. You chase away your rec players, that's how you go out of business. But I don't know how that field's doing. I think they're still open, but I just won't go back there. But that's kind of partially why I got out of paintball, is because when you start getting serious about it, it's pretty much a game of who could shoot more paint than the other guy, in a nutshell. In a nutshell. And I see these guys who shouldn't be playing against rec players who go out and practice, and then they get thrown in with the rec players and they just light them up. And my solution to it was that when these guys go out there with their $500 guns, let them run gravity-fed hoppers and only use gravity-fed. I mean, you only, like I said, you can only shoot as fast as the gravity's going to let you, and it gives you more of a fair chance. I mean, everyone's using gravity-fed, so you're only shooting as fast as gravity allows. But I get the guys who have the $500 markers, they get pissed off. Well, that's bullshit. I shouldn't have to use a gravity-fed hopper. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, then you shouldn't be playing against rec players either. I mean, these guys come out, play like once, twice, maybe 3 times the whole entire year, and they might not play again for another couple of years. So it's, to me, that's what's wrong with paintball. And I stopped playing because, hell, half the time I can't even find anyone who wants to go play. It's not cheap. That's why I like trying to do individual sports like shooting, and like I'll go play golf. You know, you don't need anyone else to go with you to play golf. I can go to the range by myself. Cowboy action shooting, I can show up by myself. You know, if it's me and a couple other people, we can still compete. So you know, I don't even play softball anymore because of all the infighting and the fighting of the teams. And I saw some fist fights when I was playing softball, and I just stopped doing that too. It's gotten way too stupid. That kind of brings me into the spoiled Americans, man. I mean, holy crap, dude. Lately, it's just been on the news. You hear about welfare this, welfare that, and man, I don't know. It's like people. When I first got my apartment back in the day, there was this apartment I rented. It was my first one, and this is a perfect example of how this country's, or where this country is heading. They had me fill out my employment application, and the lady was like, "Yeah, if you put food stamps on there as a as part of your employment, we won't take it." And I started laughing. I was like, "Really? People put food stamps as income on there?" And that just right there tells you where we're heading in this country. I mean, we become a nation of just where we feel entitled to stuff. I mean, I tell people, go overseas, go to the Middle East and see how those people live. I mean, these people are living in mud huts with swamp coolers, and they're happy to do it. You know, even over in Europe, they don't watch as much TV as we do. I mean, when I was hanging out with the Europeans, man, they were never home. I mean, these guys, they never stay at home. They'll go to the bar and drink one beer and hang out for like 3 hours. You know, like me, I go to a bar for 3 hours with these guys, and I'm like, you know, I need a ride home. I can't drive home after it's all said and done. But they'll drink one, maybe two beers the whole night. Whereas, you know, I'll drink a 6-pack. You know, when I was in the service, that's how we do it, man. But you see so many spoiled people. Like even the video games, like in Europe, it wasn't as popular as it is over here. I mean, they don't do that. I mean, they have Xboxes and stuff like that, but it wasn't as big of a deal as it is over here. Like over here, like everyone plays video games. It's a big industry, and over there, it's none of my Italian friends had an Xbox. You know, that's just how it was. They were always outside doing stuff. So I just think this country is kind of becoming a country of we want this, we want that, but we don't want to work for it. You guys ever go to the shooting range and shoot someone else's gun and shoot their reloads? I don't know. I've done it. I mean, everyone says it's a sin to shoot someone else's reloads. I don't know. To me, it depends on the person. Sorry, I think the cats are getting into something. But anyway, so people say it's a sin to shoot someone else's reloads, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, my friends know I've been reloading for a couple years now, and they see me shoot all my reloads, and they know I'm pretty safe, and I don't even get near max pressure. So, I mean, I've never really had any serious problems with my reloads, and when I've been at the range, I know there's a couple guys who've been reloading for a long time, and I shot their guns, and I shot some of their reloads, and nothing ever happened, you know? Usually these guys, when I shoot their guns, they have like antique firearms anyway, so they want to stay away from that max pressure as it is, so they never really load the rounds hot. But I just thought it was kind of funny how people always say, oh, shooting someone else's reload, that's a sin, you know, that's a cardinal sin, you should never shoot someone else's reloads. I'm like, it just depends on the person. That's all, and that's my 2 cents about it. So lately, I watch other videos on YouTube besides gun stuff and everything like that, and because of my profile picture, people automatically judge me. It's hilarious. It's like, you know, we're told not to judge people, but it happens. You know, people see me with a gun, like, oh, some gun nut, some crazy backwoods hillbilly person, even though I'm from California. I grew up in the city, and it's funny that people automatically think I'm some hillbilly, so I find that kind of amusing. But it's really sad that you'll comment on a video or try to partake in a conversation online, and people automatically think, oh, here comes some gun nut gun owner because he has a gun in his hands. And I've told people, I'm like, what if that's not a gun? What if that rifle's an airsoft gun? What if I was playing airsoft and we got done playing airsoft? And usually they don't respond back because they don't know. They don't know if it's real or fake. But my profile picture is just kind of like it's just a picture, man. It's like, who cares? I could change that picture anytime I wanted. I like the picture, and so it's going to stay there. But for people to automatically judge me, it just shows them how ignorant they are and how little they know. And lately, I haven't been debating people online. I don't even care. Like, people will put me down or say something on one of my videos. I just ban them. I mean, seriously, what's the point of trying to get across these people when they're stupid? If they're going to come in there and just start talking all this crap about gun owners being stupid and blah, 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 I'm like, you're just banned. See you later. I'm not even going to debate you. It's not worth my time. It's just easier to ban you. But yeah, no, I actually take notes, if you guys believe it or not. During the month from the last podcast, I actually write stuff down. I have a notepad, and if I see something interesting I want to talk about, I'll bring it up to you guys. So, do you guys wear your gun around the house? That's something that I've been wanting to talk to you guys about. I usually do. I usually have a gun within reach within 3 seconds. Anytime I'm in the house, I try to follow that 3-second rule. To where if you don't have access to a gun within 3 seconds, you're probably in the wrong as a gun owner. If you have kids in the house, hopefully you have the gun on your body and never off body carry in your house. I would just assume you have inside the waistband holster that you wear 24/7. And when you're buying a new holster, one of the best ways to try it out is sit down and watch a movie for 2 hours and see if that holster is uncomfortable or not. Because when I carry, sometimes I do have to sit down. And sometimes I do have to drive for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And you got to have the right holster. Like, I'm wearing that sticky ear holster right now, and that's comfortable. I mean, I can move it around, adjust it anywhere I want. I forget it's there half the time. So, being a responsible gun owner, that's just, it's good nature to wear something on body carry. I try to tell people don't off body carry, which we've discussed before. So I'm getting pretty well into SAS. I got a couple more matches I want to do before I want to do a podcast strictly about doing SAS and cowboy action shooting and what I like and don't like about it. There's a couple things that I've had happen already that have kind of not made me upset, but just kind of I had to get in contact with one of the club's presidents to find out if my clothing was allowed or not allowed. And if you watch my video, you're going to probably be like, well, what's he talking about? What's not allowed? I know my gun belt wasn't allowed. That was my duty belt for security, but that's all I had. So they're cool with it. For the most part, what I gather from that is that if it looks Western, it is Western. And if you're at a local club, you're going to be fine. The only time the restrictions come into play is when you're at a SAS event, like an actual event that's put on by SAS. So if you don't know what SAS is, it's a single action shooting society, and it's a main group that kind of oversees the rules and everything and all that good stuff. But the clubs, they run all their clubs based off the rules off SAS, and the clubs are a little bit more relaxed about your costume and stuff like that. But they're not going to be relaxed on your firearms. You gotta have the right qualified firearms to go out and do it. But I'll talk about that in the next month's podcast. But other than that, guys, I mean, we're coming up here about 25 minutes or so. I've been trying to get to where I talk to you guys for a half hour, and it's just hard to find all these topics, I mean, I could talk about parenting and how parenting is so stupid. Oh, my God. I could talk for an hour on parenting. Just the kids you see each day are just, I sound old. I mean, I'm only 30 years old, and I can tell you kids are screwed up. And I don't even have any kids, but you go to the store and you see these kids just acting like complete brats. I mean, just complete assholes. And you just want to look at the parent and be like, dude, seriously? You just want to let your kid do that? I was like, that kid's going to grow up to be all messed up, and when he goes to jail, you're going to blame society, right? You're going to blame everybody else but you, even though you could have fixed the problem when he was a kid. But nope, you let your kid do whatever you want. And then when they get, out of the house when they're 18, 19, 20, and then they figure out that they can't do whatever they want and that there's consequences, then they end up in jail, and they'll blame everybody else but them. And parenting is just, I think it's just out the window. I think, there are parents doing it right, but a lot of them don't. But I mean, I could talk a whole hour about parenting. It's just I'd bore you guys to death. So what's new with you guys? Anybody get anything cool over the past month? Any new guns? New anything? Anything like that? I do have a channel shout out. There's this guy Grizzly Dave Cowboy. I don't know. I'll put a link in the comments. He has a really cool video for entry level video about cowboy action shooting. I think you guys should check out and tell him I sent you. But he's the guy to go, or the channel to check out if you're really wanting to get into cowboy action shooting. And I recommend going to him. I mean, it's just he has 2 really great entry level videos to watch, and I learned a lot just from his 2 videos. I mean, that was just like I was there at the match, like because when I went to the actual match as an observer for my first time, they pretty much said all the same stuff that he did. So I already kind of knew some stuff going in, and I did contact the range before I went, so they knew I was coming. But like I said, the next podcast we'll discuss more of that in detail, and I want to try to have a guest on with me. I'm gonna try to get my buddy Chaz to come on the podcast, and so we can get his 2 cents too about what he thinks of SAS. That's about it for me, guys. I've been yakking at you now for almost a half hour, and I want to get out of here. But let me know what you guys want me to talk about. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm gonna check the YouTube thing right now. Check the YouTube page if there's any questions over there. I don't think there is any questions. Nope, I don't think anyone's even watching live. But in the comments section of this video, go ahead and post your questions, and I'll get to them on the next podcast. So other than that, guys, enjoy the next couple of weeks until you see me again, and I will talk to you. I'll talk to you guys later.